All right, fashion dolls, and we are back. We are back with our very special guest for today. He is a Navy veteran. He is an actor and model, and I'm super excited to have him here in the dollhouse with us. We had some tech issues, but I had to uninstall and then reinstall back. Hopefully, that will be able to add him to this live so that we can get this interview up and started. All right, fashion dolls. Let me see. Let me see. Welcome, welcome. If you are just coming in, happy Tuesday or Variation Tuesday, shall I say. We say Transformation Tuesday, but Variation Tuesday. In case you guys missed it, I told you guys that we are on the count to 500 interviews. And I hope you guys all have been watching and catching up on the episodes. We have some amazing guests this week, amazing men this week. It is What a Man Week here on Style by Stevie. So without further ado, let's welcome our incredibly talented special guest, Graham Witherspoon. Hmm, I accept, but I don't know why that's not adding him. It should pop up at the bottom of the screen because I just uninstalled and then reinstalled back. What is going on today, IG? Can you guys hear me? Can y'all see me? Please forgive me, you guys. We're having some tech issues here. Can you guys hear me? Can y'all see me? Because I see you all coming in. Okay, you guys can see me and you can hear me. It's saying Graham is unable to join. Graham, I think you got an update to join me because I just uninstalled and then reinstalled back. Please forgive me, you guys. We're having some tech issues here. We're trying to get Graham in, or you might have to do the same thing that I did, which is uninstall and then reinstall back. In the meantime, between time, make sure that you guys are subscribed to Style by Stevie Daytime and make sure that you guys are following me here as well too on the gram. You guys can see me. Wait a minute. Graham is still here. Okay. Make sure your camera is on. Let me invite you again. Let me try again and invite you. I just uninstalled and then reinstalled back. So I'm not sure what is going on, why it's not allowing Graham to join me. Okay, he's going to reinstall and come back. I'm going to cut this fan on a little bit because I am not trying to melt in the meantime, between time over here. All right. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Let me know. Okay, Graham is going to uninstall and then reinstall. And I'm going to cut this off because I'm not trying to help you guys. But in the meantime, between time, we are on the road to 500 interviews. Today will be interview 496. Joining me tomorrow, we have Roger Payano who will be joining me here. And then September 1st, Marcos Luis, who is the host of the One Might Not podcast, will be joining me this Friday, September 1st, kicking off the first week of September. All right? And then we have some more amazing guests that will be coming over. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Also joining, we have actor Gary Anthony Stinnett who will be joining me Thursday. So make sure you guys tune in. It's What a Man Week here on Style by Steve. All right. So we're waiting on Graham, and then we're going to add him to keep this interview off. And plus, he's in the West Coast. He's in Texas. I'm in South Carolina. So big time difference. Again, we apologize about that. Let me cut this off so that you guys can hear me clearly. All right. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and if you can see me. Let me see if Graham is here so that I can go ahead and add him. Okay, let me see. Let me try now. All right, Graham, I just sent you the invite. I see you came in. There we are. Now,
Here we are. All right, let me swap sides here because I didn't know if
finally,
amazing that worked.
finally,
Here we are.
we had some tech issues, but we
We're
got it.
live.
Yes. Welcome to the dollhouse, handsome. How are you?
Thank you, thank you. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. It is great to have you here. This has been longly in the works, and we won't keep you long because I know you're conscious about time. So before we
No,
get
I
into
just have
this,
my little one, my primary responsibility. So he's
oh yeah, I got you. I got you. So it won't be long. All right. So before we get into our conversation, how has 2023 been for you so far? I know the writer's strike is going on, the actor's strike is going on. So many things have happened since 2023. But how has 2023 been for you so far?
It's been great. It's been a blessing. You know, I thought that it was going to be there was going to be a lull in action, and even during COVID, I had a lot of opportunities to work. So I've just been continue to be blessed with those opportunities to continue working, even though the strike's going on and other matters have been happening. So I'm happy. I'm blessed. And as you can hear, the little one's good. It's crawling around.
Yes, you balancing it out perfectly. We'll get to that fatherhood. But let's start from the beginning. You were born in New York, and you moved to Wyling, Texas, your
Correct.
sophomore year of high school. So tell us a little bit about growing up in New York, because I actually have family there. Most of my family is like in the Brooklyn area, the Manhattan parts, and I'm pretty sure you've heard of the five boroughs and Brownsville as well too.
Oh yeah.
So yes, tell us about that. What was it like for you growing up, and did you always knew that acting would be a passion of yours?
So I was born in New York, Manhattan. Unfortunately, that hospital no longer exists. And from there, my parents moved to Brooklyn, to Clinton Hill, and then we bought a house out in Queens. So we moved around a little bit, and my grandparents lived in Brooklyn as well. Uncles lived in Long Island, New York. So as you said, the five boroughs very, very well known around the five boroughs. So acting kind of came about. My dad is an NYPD detective, or he's retired, and he had film friends that worked on the New York City Police Department film unit, and I was able to go and watch films be made, interact with some of the cast members and things like that. So it was interesting to be around and in that environment. So it kind of sparked my love for acting and movies and things like that.
Now you moved to Wiley, Texas, your sophomore year of high school. What was your parents' reaction there? Because I know a lot of parents, they see their children growing up, growing into their own, wanting to become whatever their career goal is or passion is. What was your parents' reaction to you taking that big leap and moving to Texas?
Well, my mother actually moved with us. She asked me, where do you want to live? And I could have picked anywhere in the country. And I think maybe around third grade, we came to Dallas to visit as a family vacation. And with that being said, I kind of just threw out Texas. And so my mom said, okay, Texas it is. So unfortunately, at that time, my parents were separated, and we moved down to Wiley. And it was a great experience. Well, I shouldn't say it was a great experience. It was a unique experience being a native New Yorker, and with the hustle and bustle and things going on in New York, and moving to Wiley. And I think that time in '91 there was approximately 4,000, 5,000 people, if that. So
Wow.
it was a culture shock, and I was one of three black families in the town. So there was zero diversity out there at that time. But now you have all sorts of people live in Wiley, and they're flourishing. But unfortunately, when I was there, it was just me and a couple other families.
Now, in the midst of competing in high school, you then went on and you enlisted in the Navy. My father is a vet, my brother is a vet, my uncle is a vet, so it's like it runs in my family. So
Yep,
salute to all the troops out there.
my neighbor too.
That transition like for you to Wiley, Texas, high school, and then enlisting in the Navy?
Well, when I lived in New York, my parents would take me to what's called Fleet Week, and that's when primarily the United States Navy comes to town, and they basically show you what your tax dollars go to. So you're able to go on the ships and play with all this stuff for the most part, and see what the Navy does or what their instruments are that they use out to sea, because obviously the Navy's out to sea and no one knows what to do. So you go on board the ships, you get to take a tour, put on the helmets, the jackets, you know, play with the boats and whatnot. And that was always a unique experience for me. And I looked forward to it every year when they came to town. So one person in particular, GMC, which is a gunner's mate chief, he gave us a tour on the USS Iowa, and I was a big fan of battleships. And so he was very kind to me, and he planted that seed in me that I didn't know was there to enlist into the United States Navy. And here I am now, 28 years later, retired.
How does it feel? Do you ever look back at that point in your life and say, wow, I can't believe I came this far? And then you also did a career change as well, too, as master, U.S. Navy master. So what was that experience like?
It was my kids playing with this toy plane. The transition was crazy, going from civilian to enlisting in the Navy. I initially went to naval aviation. So for those of you who have seen Top Gun, the first 5 minutes of Top Gun, that's kind of what I did. And then after that, I went into recruiting duty. And recruiting duty was more of an office setting. I'm not an office person, but I'm a people person, and people tend to like me for some reason. I don't know. And I was able to do well in the recruiting duty. So from there, I did not want to go back out to sea primarily. So my initial job that I wanted to do was be in the Navy, and not be in the Navy, be a police officer in the Navy. And at that time, they weren't taking people under the rank of E5 to be a police officer. So I achieved the rank of E5 and became a police officer, and I got snookered into going kind of into a special unit within the Navy that the Navy has started up, and which was counterterrorism, anti-terrorism. And from there, I went on to do various things in that field. And then I retired. And prior to retirement, I had a chance. I was the chief officer of NSA Bahrain in the Middle East. And so I got to handle all the USO operations, or VIPs, so whether it was presidential, delegates, congressmen, senators, they all had to go through me. So at that point in time, we had, what movie was it? Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer with Anthony Mackie. And big Anthony Mackie fan. So I got to be kind of his bodyguard, and we walked around and things like that. So I asked him, I said, hey, you know, I'm retiring in about 6 or 7 years. I can't remember what it was. And I said, what's it like being an actor? How do you get into acting? And he said to me, I just auditioned for something. I got it. I auditioned for something else, and I got it. And it was just a domino effect after that. I was lucky. And so I was kind of upset by that answer, because I really was like, hey, dude, just tell me what to do. I don't need you to name drop me. I don't need you to put me. I don't need you to do anything. Just point me in the right direction, and I'll do the work. I'll put in the legwork. I'll put in all the muscle work. I don't, you know, I'm not asking for any handouts. And he was like, no, I'm just being serious. That's what it was. It was one thing after another, and it was just a blessing. So when I was running for mayor of the town I lived in at the time, I came in contact with another individual from Queens, and we were from the same area and everything, and we hit it off. So she called me one day, and she's like, hey, a friend of mine's filming a TV show. Do you want to be in it? I'm retired. Why not? And so we went out there. It was a corporate office scene. And for me, being New York City, corporate office is like a 3-piece suit. It was cold. So I think it was like November, maybe-ish, December, beginning of December. So, you know, I had my cashmere coat and my scarf, my leather gloves, yada, 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 prepared for this office scene. I show up, and they say, wow, you're really overdressed, dressed to the nines. That was Michael W. Green, who actually said that. He's like, you're overdressed. And I said, well, I was told this was a corporate office scene. You know, this is corporate attire. He's like, yeah, but that's a little bit too much. So he was kind enough to say, hey, we're going to offer you a role, and I'm going to write a role specifically for you. And he was a man of his word. And we did the scene, knocked it out the park, and he said, hey, you ever thought about doing this for a living? Because you could actually do this. So from there, I was like, wow, really? So I auditioned for things, and at that point in time, I think I got onto Queen of the South. and Queen of the South was on USA Network before it transitioned to TNT. And Dallas, here in Dallas, is a really small acting community. So once you are in there, you see the same people over and over, or you work with the same producers or same directors over and over again. And that's been a blessing because, in New York City or in LA and Atlanta, there's so many people that you may not run into the same people all the time. There's always a fresh face, there's always a fresh director or someone up and coming. So I'm kind of blessed to be in the small market and be able to hustle. And so I had the opportunity to see Anthony Mackie again. And at this point in time, I had kids. They were older. They'd seen all the Avenger movies. And I knew him and Jeremy Renner were in town. So I hit him up and I was like, hey, man, I want to bring my kids by, introduce to my kids, yada, yada, yada. And we went in, and they were like, oh, my God, it's Anthony Mackie. It's the Falcon. It's Captain America. So they had a blast. And I ended up giving him an autograph of my headshot. And he was like, oh, man, that's crazy. You actually went and did it. So it was kind of cool that he remembered me and knew my aspirations from almost a decade prior at that point.
And fast forward, you went on to do shows like The Price of Fame. You went on to do Texas Flip and Move, Blinded Space. The list goes on and on. Out of all of your catalog of work, because you have a very extensive resume of work, which piece has to be your favorite today?
I would say NCIS New Orleans. One, I had never been to New Orleans as an adult or someone of legal gambling age. I don't gamble, but someone who would drink or gamble or do whatever adult things they want to do in New Orleans, I wasn't able to do that the last time I was there. So to be on the show and actually have worked with NCIS when I was in the Navy, it was kind of cool to be on the show and an unofficial like guide. So I'd tell them, hey, you can't do that in the Navy because if you do that, you're going to get in trouble. Or the uniform is supposed to look like this. So I was able to help them out with a lot of various things on the show. But was with Scott Bakula and a couple of other famous people. I don't remember their names because I'm horrible with names. And so we're just sitting, chit-chatting, having fun. And in walks LeVar Burton. And I totally lost it. I had a geek moment. And I was like, oh, my God, it's LeVar Burton, just fanning out. I'm a big Star Trek fan. Scott Bakula and LeVar Burton were both in Star Trek, different shows, but still in the same Star Trek universe. And so Scott Bakula says, really? I said, I know, Scott, but I see you all the time. I was like, I haven't seen LeVar Burton since, I think I was maybe 7 or 8 when I was on Reading Rainbow, something like that. So I totally lost it. And so we got to talk. They actually stopped the show for us to go to a room and talk and kind of reacquaint to each other. And that was cool. And then LeVar was in Shreveport. And so I brought my kids to meet LeVar because they saw Reading Rainbow and things like that. And I was like, well, we're in Shreveport. He's in Shreveport. Let's go see him. And so he was very kind. He was very kind and gracious. And he was even kind enough to send a personal video message to my mom, which meant a lot for her because she's a big LeVar Burton fan.
So with you reuniting with LeVar Burton, are there any pieces of gems that he gave to take along with you throughout your career, with you being on the set of NCIS?
I mean, NCIS New Orleans had a very diverse cast, things, people who are in different movies, different shows. One, I can't remember her name, but she was an Arab actress who came onto the scene, and she was very big overseas and things like that. So you never knew who the guest star was going to be or whatever the case may be on the show. But LeVar just had this certain aura about him. It's like meeting I would say your grandparent in another person, and that warmth and compassion and that feel of that person believing in you is there, even though LeVar Burton's not a total stranger, but that's just his aura. So you felt it when he walked into the room. You felt it whenever he delivered his lines and conversed with people in between takes. He was just an amazing, phenomenal person to be around.
Yes. So if you could change anything about the acting industry, what would you change?
Wow. I've been blessed to be around a lot of great people. And as you know, you spoke with a dear friend of mine, Corey. And,
Yeah.
you know, we met maybe 4 or 5 years ago at an audition in a parking lot. And we hit it off, exchanged numbers, and we've been friends ever since. So there's a lot of great friends that I've made in this industry. But the things I would change is the people who are up there, and I hope this doesn't upset anybody, but the people who are up there who are living the dream, actually doing this day in, day out, and their face is known, and that people have fans and things like that. Be grateful. Be grateful and appreciative that you have the fans and you have the love and support that you have from these strangers that don't have to support you, because there's people, you know, like myself, who are up and coming, and we're looking towards those other individuals for advice and mentorship. You know, give it, because you're not going to be around forever. Someone has to take the mantle. You know, there's, as we see, Marlon Brando's gone, Rock Hudson's gone. You know, all these people are dying off who are considered great actors, and we need to replace those people. But if you're not mentoring the next generation, if you're not giving the, like you said, those gems, those little bits of wisdom, that creates a problem in the industry. You know, because you'll lose that showmanship. So I think just people being appreciative of where they're at, understanding that so there's someone coming behind you, and to help them out and be as kind as you can.
What is it about acting that makes you feel the most passion?
Oh, wow. I would say possibly being able to be someone else for the moment without being diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. You get to live out fantasies of being a pilot, of being a sailor, being an IndyCar driver, or whatever the case may be. You get to live that out without actually having to deal with the perils of that job per se. So, for instance, I did a commercial a while back about being a roughneck on an oil rig. That's some hard work. That's you know, it was nothing like Armageddon, where you saw where they were just having fun and partying and this, that, and the other. You know, those guys are out there working and hustling. So um, that I appreciate that aspect of acting, and that's my love, is being able to dip my toes into different worlds, but not have to stay there.
Now you model also as well too. You're a model and you are a artist. So with doing commercials, which do you prefer? Do you prefer commercials or being on? I mean, I know you got to be both on set, but which do you prefer the most? Acting on set or in the commercial? Which do you
It depends on how much the paycheck is. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know, with commercials, you kind of, you get to do it for the day or 2 days. So, like, I did a Ford commercial. That was 2 days out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and it was for the Ford Lightning and the Blue Oval project. And what the Blue Oval project is basically a green, energy efficient factory that's going to be made by Ford in Tennessee. And so I played a surveyor for Ford that was going to build a plant, and that plant's going to make the Ford Lightning. And the Ford Lightning hadn't come out at that point in time. So it was interesting to kind of once again dip my toes into that world. So they actually sent us to a surveyor's course for half a day, and so I could actually survey land if I really wanted to, because the class was that intense. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is TV. I don't really need to know how to survey. They get the point. But whenever I saw the commercial on Twitter, my brother hits me up and he says, "Oh my God, dude, I just saw your commercial. Don Cheadle is narrating your commercial." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Don Cheadle?" So I go to Twitter, look it up, and sure enough, Don Cheadle's narrating. I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy, Don Cheadle." But then I'm looking through the comments and I see a guy who's actually a surveyor. And he says, "You guys did a great job representing surveyors and doing all the things that is necessary in actual surveying." And I was like, dang, that's pretty crazy that someone recognized that. And it's the same for me being in the Navy. You know, when I see movies about the Navy, I'm like, oh, we wouldn't do that. Oh, that's BS, this, that, and the other, da da da. So that was kind of a great thing for that commercial. But with TV and movies, you get to see the same people over and over and over again. So you build that bond and you build those relationships with those individuals. And, things like when you see Adam Sandler, 9 times out of 10, Chris Rock's going to be in there. all the same people he reuses over and over and over again in his movies. No different from Steven Spielberg, using Harrison Ford over and over again in his movies, things like that. So you build those connections and somewhat a family. So I like both aspects, but yeah, I'd say probably TV and movies over commercials.
What is one thing that people may not know about Grant?
I am shy. I'm really I'm really shy. People think because of my outgoing personality that I'm just this people person and I'm always out there at clubs and partying. But really, I just like spending time with my kids, my family, and enjoying time with them, because that, to me, that's my most important job is making sure my kids are raised right, making sure my kids have what I believe to be proper morals and values. And everybody may not have the same morals and values, but just be productive and good human beings, so that when I'm gone, they can do the same for their children, things like that. So that's pretty much it. I'm a very shy person. If I literally, when I'm done filming something, I come home and I just go to my room and I pull the blankets over my head and I just stay in bed until whenever.
When is the first time you ever seen yourself on television, like in a commercial or just on a TV set? When was the first time you ever saw yourself on television and said, okay, this is real, this is reality? Like, when was your first pinch me moment?
Well, my first pinch me moment wasn't via TV. I was actually driving to New Orleans to film NCIS New Orleans, and my daughter was like, "Dad, you're on Google. Like, when you Google yourself, you actually pop up on Google." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah." So there's another individual named Sean WeatherSpoon. He's also from Texas, near close town. He played for the Atlanta Falcons. So a lot of people confuse him and I. And when I go to Atlanta, everybody thinks I'm him, but I'm not, obviously. And so on Google, he used to pop up first whenever you Googled my name. But now I pop up first. So that was kind of like I said, a pinch me moment in my career. And then whenever I was sitting down filming an episode of NCIS New Orleans, and they were playing NCIS New Orleans in the cafeteria, and CCH Pounder sits down next to me, and she's just like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Miss Pounder, how are you?" And she's like, "Good," she's just making small talk, and she was like, "Oh, your scene's playing right now on the TV," and I'm like, "What?" And I look up, and there I am on screen, so that was kind of cool. But the best feeling ever was my 2-year-old that just ran out the room. Mm-hmm. We were sitting, for whatever reason, I don't know why, we were watching professional bull riding. And yes, we do live in Texas. Not every Texans watch bull riding, but for whatever reason, bull riding was on. And Tractor Supply Company is one of the sponsors for bull riding. And my commercial came on. And he's like, "Dad, Dad." And, I'm doing something else. I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Dad, Dad." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Dad," but he's pointing at the TV, and it's me on TV. So I was like, that's crazy. My 2-year-old knows, that I'm on TV. But that was kind of cool. So, because he'll never know I was in the Navy. He'll never know all the other things I did. All he'll ever know is I'm a stay-at-home dad, and sometimes he sees me on TV. That's it.
Now, let's talk fatherhood. How do you find that balance? Because I know acting has always been a passion of yours, and you went into the Navy as well, to the Navy Master. So how do you find the balance with being an actor and being a father? Because I know for all of us being in this entertainment business, you're always away from your family, always on the road, always on the go, making sure that you stay in tune with your supporters and things, and family as well. Thank God for technology. But how do you find the balance with being a dad and being an actor?
Well, fortunately for me, earlier in my career, I was able to actually work with my kids. So, actually the 2-year-old, his first modeling gig, he was 6 months old in a print ad that we all did together. So, my first big modeling thing was for Comcast in New York City, and my kids were watching a lot of Impractical Jokers on TNT or TBS.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and so they love the show. They knew I was from New York City, and they knew they filmed in New York City. And so my son and I were filming a SeatGeek commercial here in Dallas for the Dallas Cowboys. And so I said, hey, as soon as we wrap this commercial, I got to take a nap because I got to go up to New York City for the next commercial. And so my son he was adamant about going. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to, I was like, it's going to be expensive for all of us to fly up there. And so then my daughter was like, no, I want to go too. I'm like, I'm not buying 3 plane tickets for you to go up there and see New York, and I'm up there for work. So they were just very persistent. And so I said, you know what, we're going to drive. Okay, we'll drive. I've done the drive before millions of times. I've driven the whole country, so it wasn't a big deal. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to buy you guys headphones, tablets. I'm going to turn the Wi-Fi in the car. Don't ask me if we're there yet. Don't ask me how much time it's going to take. Be quiet. Let me drive. And we drove up. We made a pit stop in West Virginia, another pit stop in Hershey, Pennsylvania, so they could see the Hershey Amusement Park. And I think about 11 o'clock East Coast time, we rolled into New York City and took them to 42nd Street. So they got to see 42nd Street, all the lights, and they were just all enamored by it all. And so that was good, to see the look on their face, the shock and awe of actually being in New York City, Times Square, and seeing all the things that's still on TV. So by the time I got to my hotel, it was probably like 3 in the morning, and I had to be up a couple hours later to start. And I woke up late, believe it or not. And it was kind of like that Home Alone moment when they wake up and they're like, we're late. So I'm like, get stuff, da da da. We're running, I'm racing to set, trying to get them on the phone, and running red lights, the whole 9, trying to get there. And we get to this great house, this beautiful home, and I introduce my kids to the director and the photographer, and I say, hey, I apologize, I got my kids with me, but they're well mannered, and I rule with an iron fist. They'll be fine. So the director talks to them and whatnot, and he pulls me aside and says, hey, why didn't you have them audition for this? They would have been perfect. And I said, well, had you guys paid for us to fly up for the audition, I would have auditioned them. But after that, we all did a commercial together. My wife was in Federal Law Enforcement Academy, and she was supposed to be in a commercial as well, but she was stuck there. So my 2 eldest, well, the 2 middle kids, we all did the commercial together, which was for Trinity Metro, which is like the metro system, train system for Fort Worth area. And so we continued doing those commercials, and then my daughter did the City of Fort Worth's Chamber of Commerce. She was the narrator for that. My son got picked up to do some stuff for the state of Oklahoma. And so at times we do work together, but at times we work separately. And so that's kind of helps the balance of the whole thing, because they understand what I'm doing. They understand where I'm going with it, and they also do it as well. And so it's a blessing to have all of us kind of in tune with each other. So it makes it a little bit easier to handle.
What are some gems, because you talked earlier throughout this interview, you talked a little bit about legacy and how important legacy was. What are some gems that you've taken along to your children, given along to your children to excel in their careers and further their careers?
Well, it's a gem that was kind of passed down to me by one of my superiors in the Navy. And he's like, think of everything around you as a tool. Mm. And all those things, you take those tools and you put it in your toolbox. And whenever you need it, you're able to pull it out. And whether that tool is a good tool or bad tool, because even we can learn from those bad experiences. And whether it's how not to be a certain type of leader, or whether it's not how to be a certain type of parent, or how to be a certain type of parent. If you had a dad who was absent, obviously, or hopefully, you would not want to be an absentee father as well. So that's kind of one of the things I try to teach my kids, like, hey, you learn from every moment, learn from every opportunity, and make sure when it's time to recall that moment, you're able to do so because you paid attention in that moment in time.
And that is key to excelling in this business. All right, Fashion Dolls, we are about to have some fun here with Graham. I told him I was going to test his knowledge, and we did this with Corey. last week, not too long ago. We're going to do some Black actor trivia, and then we're going to do something called Turn the Tables. And this is where my guests get to ask me questions. Anything beauty, fashion related, family related, gold, passion, whatever he wants to know for my new viewers out there, you will get to know about me through Graham's questioning, all right? So we're going to start off with this Black actor trivia, and you guys at home can chime in also as well too, all right? So we're going to get into some Black movie trivia. Here we go. Okay. Which actor did not appear in Why Do Fools Fall in Love? And here's your choice. All right. You got Leon, Halle Berry, Vivica Fox, and Lorenz Tate.
I think Halle Berry wasn't in that. No? Oh my goodness.
It was Lorenz Tate, Layla Rochon, Vivica Fox, and Halle Berry. It was Leon. Leon did Waiting to Exhale with Layla Rochon.
Yeah. I'm a big Leon fan too, because my mom's gonna name me Leon. So that's messed up. I didn't even know that answer.
Okay, here's the next one. All right.
$20 if you never give me the right answer.
What was you saying? I'm sorry.
I said $20 to anyone in the comments who could give me the right answer.
And don't y'all be trying to cheat either. All right. Who plays Drew's aunt, Frances Phillips, in The Inkwell? And here's your choices. Phyllis Siobhan Stickney, Jada Pinkett Smith, A.J. Johnson, or Vanessa Bell Calloway?
I haven't seen that movie. So I'm going to go with D.
It's not Phyllis Siobhan, but she did work with Vanessa in What's Love Got to Do with It. So that should give you
0 for 2
right there. I'll help you out a little bit. Because Jada and AJ wasn't in the film. And What's Love Got to Do with It? Jada was in The Inkwell, but that should give you a clue. What's Love Got to Do with It? Because Phyllis Siobhan and Vanessa did work in What's Love Got to Do with It with Angela Bassett.
Oh, and I just saw that movie too.
She played Tina Turner's friend.
My wife's like, what's the question? Come here. Can I phone a friend? Can I phone a wife?
Yes.
All right, come here.
What was the question?
All right. She wants another question. Come here.
Okay.
Who plays Drew's aunt, Frances Phillips, in The Inkwell?
She was in Love Got to Do It. What's Love Got to Do It?
Angela Bassett?
No, Angela Bassett wasn't one of the thingies.
Please on. What's Love Got to Do with It?
She played Angela Bassett's friend in What's Love Got to Do with It? To give you a clue.
We just saw that movie.
I know. That's what I just said. We just saw that movie. All right, you don't get $20.
It's
Vanessa
Bell Calloway. She played Aunt Frances Phillips in The Inkwell. Vanessa Bell Calloway. She played Jackie and What's
She's
Love Got
Googling
to
it
Do
now that it helps.
Yes. Okay. Here's the next one. This one might be a little bit more easier. Let me get to it. What was Squeak's real name from The Color Purple? What was Squeak's real name?
Oh, we talking about
And I'm going
like
to
her
give you the choice.
the real actress's name, or
In the film, what was her real name? Was it Celie, Mary Alice, Mary Clarence, or Mary Agnes?
Whose name?
Whoopi Goldberg's character.
That's
Squeak.
Oh, Squeak. Squeak. Which one? Can you give me the choices again?
Mary Clarence, Mary Agnes, Mary Alice, or Celie?
It's going back to my childhood.
Think about it at the dinner table. What did she say? She said, my name ain't Squeak. My name is...
I haven't seen that movie since I was like 10. I haven't seen this movie since I was 10 years old. Uh, Mary Alice?
Mary Agnes. She
Uh,
said my name is Mary Agnes.
I'm 0 for 3. I'm a
Okay.
horrible game player.
Okay, this comedy, everyone should know this one right here. With Damon Wayne and Kadeem Hardison from A Different World. All right. They play Lenny and William, and I'm going to get you sucker. The running gag is that you can either take the blank or the blank. And what did Janae Dubois, rest her soul, tell Damon Wayans and Kadeem Hardison that they can take? Was it the window or the stairs, or the window or the walls, or the car or the trunk, or the
That
truck
one I do
or
know.
the box?
It's the window or the stairs.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's that. Now I love that movie. That's one of my favorites.
Okay, here's another comedy. What was comedian Michael Collier's name in House Party 3? Which character did he play? Show Enough, Showtime, Show You Right, or Showboat?
House Party 3. Jeez whiz. Is it Showtime?
Showboat.
All
All right, one more.
right, one more.
Alicia Roberts, who played Kid's love interest in Class Act, also played girlfriend in which film? Minister Society, South Central, Boys in the Hood, or Above the Rim?
I didn't see Class Act. I have no clue.
It's Boys in the Hood. She was in that.
Yeah, see, I didn't see Class Act. So hear me out. In my defense, for the time I was in the Navy, I missed a lot of movies, a lot of shows. So, a lot of people are like, "Oh, didn't you see that one show?" And I'm like, "Never heard of it." And they're like, "Oh, it was on in 2000 and whatever." And I'm like, "I was living overseas. I have no clue what you're talking about." So there's a lot of things I've missed and I don't know about unless it was like, an Oscar-winning movie or something of that nature. So overseas, there's not. I mean, there is actually an NBC in UK. There's NBC, ABC, CNN, and a couple of American TV shows. I mean, TV channels, but they don't operate like they do here. So, like certain shows are predicated to only on CBS, but overseas it's one channel and it shows from CBS, NBC, ABC, whatever, and it's all on the same channel. So it's not segregated. So unless it was like I said, a big show or a big movie, I wouldn't know because they probably wouldn't have played it overseas. And especially in the Middle East, they censor a lot of stuff in the Middle East.
Gotcha. All right, Fashion Dolls, and that is our Black movie trivia. So we are about to turn the tables with Graham here, and Graham is going to ask me some questions. Any of you guys at home are wondering, what is it about Stevie? So you get to know a little bit about me through Graham's question. It can be anything: fashion, passion related, family, whatever you want to know. Feel free.
Yeah. What made you want to start your own, basically, talk show?
I wanted to do something different. I always knew at a very, very young age that I wanted to host my own talk show. And I've always had an obsession with hair and makeup and fashion at a very young age, at a very early age on. And I would always line up the hair color boxes and stuff, and I would pretend like I'm interviewing the girls on the box. And I said, oh, I'm going to be one of those girls on that box one day, hosting my own talk show. And lo and behold, Style by Stevie started right after high school, because your parents ask you, what are you going to do after high school? Are you going to graduate it? I went to beauty school during my time of high school, and I graduated. So before it was just weekday topics at 11, but I said, nah, it can't just be that. It's got to be something. So I created Style by Stevie, and I said, let's add fashion, let's add acting, interviewing with actors or musicians to the platform to sort of shake it up a bit. And the responses that people have been giving my platform has just been amazing. So that's kind of how Style by Stevie started.
So it was always your passion to do this. You were fortunate enough to know at an early age what you wanted to do, basically.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's because
Awesome.
your parents always ask you, what do you want to do? And well, originally my first goal was to always be a hairstylist. I always wanted to do hair because I would see the women in my family every morning, Sunday, go to church, they would get their hair done, or my grandmother would do their hair. And then so forth. And I went to beauty school and I pursued it. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna look like one of those girls on that Dark and Lovely box, and I'm gonna host my own talk show. So make it into fruition, and that's how Style by Stevie was formed.
So what is your long-term goal in this industry?
My long-term goal would be to have my own television network. And I said, if Oprah can host a television show all these years and she has her network, why not another Black woman? Because Oprah's paved the way, why not another Black woman go ahead and do it her way as well too? But I would be giving Black filmmakers, Black directors, Black creatives an opportunity on my network.
Is there someone that you look forward to working with or interviewing?
Ooh, and I think a lot of people know the answer to this one. I think our personalities are so much alike. I would say Taraji P. Henson because she's very down to earth. She's laid back. She likes to have a good time. And seeing her outside of her character behind the scenes on set is even funnier than seeing her on set because she will say something and you'll be cracking up the whole time. So that would be my dream interview, Taraji P. Henson.
And who's the person that was your favorite to interview?
Everybody knows this. Out of all my interviews, because there's so many, it's like this is interview 496 today. I would have to say, oh, there's so many. I would have to say Vanessa. I was starstruck interviewing Vanessa Williams. I'm like, this is Miss America. I'm looking right at her, and when she popped up on the screen, beautiful crystal blue eyes, no makeup, fresh face. She said, "Hey, how you doing?" I just like, you can't freeze up now. Go ahead and do the interview. So out of all of my interviews that I've done, that one would have to hold a very special place in my heart. And the one with supermodel Connie Fleming and Cara Young, those two as well too.
So it seems as if we have a Kevin Bacon moment, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon moment.
Yeah.
So years ago, I did a couple episodes for a show that unfortunately didn't get picked up by Disney or ABC. And it was called, I want to say Filthy Profits. And it was being filmed here in Dallas with Vanessa Williams. And so I, growing up, listening to Vanessa Williams on the radio, like you said, Miss America, and then movies, and then, she was in Shaft, and my dad was a detective, and, New York City, and police, and Shaft, and my dad's Black, and the whole nine. I was excited to meet Vanessa Williams. And so, once again, I bring my kids on set, and we're at the, what's it called? The Four Seasons. We're at the Four Seasons in Dallas. And Vanessa Williams is standing there, and we're walking up, and I'm like, oh, I get to meet Vanessa Williams. And she starts to walk off because they called her to set, and my kids started running, and they end up tripping Vanessa Williams on set. I was mortified. But luckily, she didn't fall. But I was like, Miss Williams, I'm so sorry. I was very apologetic. And I was like, this is not how I wanted to meet Vanessa Williams at all. But she was cool. After it all said.
Very sweet. I thought she was going to be the complete opposite, like her character, Ebony, in Diva's Christmas Carol. I thought she was going to be like that, but the complete opposite. She was so down to earth, and we just glued because we both love beauty. We both love hair and makeup, and that's how we clicked. And so.
Awesome. Well, I don't think I have any more questions. It's pretty impromptu on the question box. But I do want to thank you for your time, and I do want to thank you for finding me and allowing me this opportunity to tell my story. I'm very humble and thankful for that. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And before we close out this interview today, Fashion Dolls, I'm going to give you some words of encouragement, which come from another one of my favorite actresses as well, too. Alfred Woodard. She says this: everyone has the impulse to be elite. And what that means is you have a gift, you have a God given gift and talent. God has given us all our purposes and our talents. Go out and pursue whatever it is. And I say this all the time. If you go back and watch some of the previous episodes, I tell people this: live life through fire. Life is short. If you have a passion, go for it. I create vision boards. So it's like almost everything on my vision board is like putting the pieces of the puzzle of my life together. And they are slowly but surely coming true, coming into fruition. So that would be my advice to anybody, along with this quote that Alfred Woodard just said, which is to go by impulse. We all have it, and you are elite. Remember that.
Love it. I love it.
All right, Fashion Dolls and Graham, let everyone know where they can check you out, because this won't be the last. I would love to bring you back here to the dollhouse. I'm pretty sure you're working on some things.
Yeah, I'm working on a TV show right now called Bounty. Um, Hopefully, it's going to be on Paramount Plus here next year. It's being filmed here in Dallas, and some of the cast from Shy and Snow, I think, are on it. And what else? Another movie called American Outlaws should be coming out on Amazon. That one's like 4 years in the making, and that's about it for right now. Just enjoying the rest of the summer and having fun with my kids.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
All right, Fashion.
I'm Instagram is gs_Weatherspoon, and Graham Sean Weatherspoon on Facebook.
All right, Fashion Dolls, this interview will be up on Style by Stevie Daytime. Make sure you guys head on over and subscribe. The count to 500, the journey to 500. We are almost at 500 interviews, you guys. I cannot believe it. We've been doing this since 2021, all the way back since when we first started. So the journey continues, Fashion Dolls. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Style by Stevie Daytime. Joining me tomorrow, we have actor Roger Payano. He joins me. It's What a Man Week. I'm a lucky woman. All these incredibly talented Black men this week. So make sure you guys stay tuned. I love you all. And make sure you guys follow Graham and check out his projects that are coming out as well, too. Graham, as always, a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.